Welcome to What the Hill is Happening, City on a Hill's monthly informational and formational podcast. This podcast is where you can come to find out what is happening at our church and the why behind the happenings. Well, hey everybody, welcome into What the Hill is Happening, the March episode. I'm joined here by Chris Cunnington and in a little while, Brad Marvine and Aaron Nelson for what I think is going to just be a really spectacular show. A lot of good things to talk about. I did want to say up front that we're not going to be talking today about Palm Sunday or Easter, which does happen to fall in this month. We're going to have a special episode for that about mid-month, so stick around. Don't stick around. Stay tuned. It would be really weird if you stuck around
2 weeks
for like 2 weeks waiting for this particular episode to drop.
Some really dedicated
yeah,
members.
Stay tuned, subscribe, set your alerts, all the things, and you'll know when it drops. But welcome in, man.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I was glad to be back.
Glad to have you here. You have a couple of things happening in March.
Yeah, March is a busy month. I mean,
is.
I always feel like it's a busy month. But
always
this
busy.
one for me is particularly fun. We got a lot of outreach stuff going on. So the Bless Every Home Outreach Conference is on March 2nd. So depending when you're watching this, may have happened already. And then we have our Mission Sunday, March 10th. So yeah, a lot of cool things.
A lot of good stuff happening. Tell us about the March 2nd. So you guys are going to be doing some stuff with Bless Every Home.
Yes.
Maybe for viewers who don't know what that is, just like a brief synopsis of that.
Yeah, so Bless Every Home is an initiative we partnered with last year. We started. So we have about 150 of you wonderful families from City on the Hill that have adopted your neighborhoods. And idea is for this first year has just been to pray every day for our neighbors. It's a really pretty cool app. Once you sign up, you get to see a map of your neighborhood and the names of your neighbors over each home. It's kind of scary the first time, actually, you look at it. You're like, how did they know?
Yeah.
But it's all public records and, just gives us a chance to use that for good. And so we've been praying for over a year and we're ready to move into that next phase. Yeah. The care and share. So those two parts where we get to know our neighbors and then eventually share the gospel with them. And this conference is going to kind of be a hands-on opportunity to do it. So we're going to talk about how you do that. How do you knock the door? What do you say when I open the door? And just some real practical things. And then we're actually going to go to our neighborhoods around City on the Hill and actually get to do it. Yeah. And so it will be, very exactly practical, hands-on conference.
Love it, love it, love it. That is something that we have not done well over the last several years, really probably since I've been a part of the church, of just having dedicated evangelism. Right. Just like very, and I realize it's scary for people and it's kind of like, what are people going to think or what are people going to say and so on and so forth. And it's really, I think it's just not, I've used the illustration before. It's kind of like doing a dive off the diving board, right? Like where you're just so scared and you're like, you think of everything that could go wrong and then it's like you do it and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Right. And there's a difference in it, what we're going to do on March 2nd, when I've been to neighbors and just random neighborhoods. Yeah. So Michael Lewis and I, we went to random new movers, people who had just moved into the area that were not near where we lived. But we just went to those houses and introduced ourselves, asked how we could pray for them, talked about Christ at the door. And it was very different from my neighborhood. Yeah. Where I could spot the people I've seen coming in and out of their homes and their cars, for years and talked across the street to. And so it's a little bit different when you go out to random places versus how you might organically build those relationships in your own neighborhood. But there's kind of tools and some ideas for both of those things.
It's good. Yeah. It's very exciting. Talk to us about Mission Sunday.
Yeah, Mission Sunday, March 10th. So 2 years ago, we didn't do it last year. Yeah. 2 years ago, we had our Compassion Sunday. And so we are still going to put a major feature on our partnership with Compassion International. We have a lot of involvement at City on the Hill, people who sponsor kids in Kenya. Yeah. And that monthly sponsorship pays for schooling, food, medical, and make sure that the kids in that program hear the gospel every week.
Yeah.
And we've been, our City on the Hill, been on mission trips and seen that program in action, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's every Saturday. It's really great. So we're going to do that again. We'll have opportunity for you to sponsor a kid for the first time, to add another kid to your family. Maybe your kid's aged out.
Yeah.
You can have a chance to do that. But we're also going to get a chance to talk about the mission that we do beyond that.
Yeah.
And so some of our missionaries that we support, we're going to give you a little update on what's happening with them. Some of our mission trips coming up this year, we'll get to feature that a little bit and talk about local mission here in East Fort Worth. So, yeah, it's going to be packed out. It's not going to be a ton of teaching.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of updates and
information.
a lot of shining the light on some things that people might not know that the City on the Hill's doing.
Well, I think that's great. I think it's very important. And the church is, if you've been around at all, you know that there's a lot of things happening in the church. There's a lot. We're a very busy church, and it's easy to get sort of sequestered into one ministry or one area that you're really passionate about. And we love that. We want that.
Yeah.
But to then be completely unaware of the other things that are happening. And so
Right.
I think something like this, Mission Sunday, where we're really highlighting, like you said, some of the major things that we're doing is really important.
Exactly. Yeah. And, we're all guilty of it. The same week that we're doing this, we have the kids' spring break camp and the spring breakout for the youth shortly afterwards. It's all at the same time. So there's so much going on that, just now and again having the chance to kind of put out there what your tithes are going to. We're going to talk about that, how that's going out to mission, and ways that you can be involved.
Well, I will say, the month of March, just as a whole, with regard to the preaching schedule and kind of the whole flow of it, is going to be really unique and different. We're actually going to take a pause from the Gospel of Mark. March 3rd, we'll have Brad Marvine, who's actually our next guest here in a moment.
Excellent.
He'll be sharing. March 10th, of course, Mission Sunday. March 17th is a kind of a joint message. I'm gonna do an introduction and then like a closing applicational part to that message. And then Gary Ingram is going to share. Who,
great.
Gary preached in our church 2 years ago, I think. He's a part of the Help for Families and has just...
Speaking of Unconfused.
Yeah, and one of the Unconfused speakers, just a great guy, and so he'll be doing that. And then that segues us into Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. Just kind of a jam-packed month, and then actually it's even going to carry over a little bit into April with a sort of special thing that we're doing the first part of April as well. So lots of good stuff. That's one of the benefits of doing a verse-by-verse study like we've done in Mark, where we feel like we can take a month and highlight some really special things that are happening.
Right.
And it's like we're just going to come back and continue in Mark. So, there's no momentum lost, I don't feel like, at all.
It's refreshing too.
It is. Something new, something different, So, well, good. Well, I'm excited to see how the conference goes, excited to hear about all the things that we're doing as a church. And if you have any interest in signing up for these things, if it has not already passed, then how do they sign up for the conference?
Yeah, actually, one of the things, if you go on to the new City on the Hill website, cityonthehilldfw.com, you'll see one of the the menus is missions now. And so there's 3 different kind of categories under missions. One of them is Bless Every Home. So even if you missed the conference, you can sign up so you get those daily emails. And, one of the things that you'll get is a daily email to pray. I forgot to say this, to pray for your neighbors. But also, if somebody new moves into your neighborhood, they notify you. So you can go by with a just very informal, handwritten note, welcome to the neighborhood, introduce yourself, and start a relationship organically when someone moves in. But that's where you go. It's right there on the missions page.
Love it. Well, very exciting things ahead, and very excited for the next segment as well. We've got some great things in restore for you, so stick around. Well, welcome back in, and welcome Brad Marvine.
Thank you.
Newly minted City on a Hill staff member, brought in with this. If you haven't heard, first of all, where have you been? Brad was, I guess, the pastor of Restore Church, and Restore has been sort of adopted by City on a Hill. And so if you've noticed the certain influx of around 40 adults and roughly 571 kids, then that's Restore. That's the new folks. And Brad has come in and is in a support staff role now. We're real excited. And so we figured for this month, since this is kind of your first official month, that we would just have a little bit of time for you to get to meet him. If you were at the Wednesday Q&A meet and greet, a few weeks ago now, then you got to hear a little bit about him and his story and how this all happened. But this is going to just be more informal and just kind of chatting. So first of all, how are you?
Man, I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Yeah, there are a lot of kids. We take very serious the be fruitful and multiply at Restore. But yeah, we're doing well. It's been I planted Restore 7.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would say this last 2 months has kind of felt like a microwave version of a church plant in terms of just like
getting everything in the
communicating vision, getting, making sure people's questions are answered, getting acclimated to City on a Hill.
Yes.
So it's been a busy couple of months. I feel like I want to take a nap for maybe 4 days, and then we'll be good to go again. Yes, but we are super excited, super stoked about what God's doing. It just felt like one thing after another has fallen into the right place.
Yeah, it really has. It's been such an exciting adventure, if you want to call it that. I mean, when we started talking about this months ago now, it seemed like a really exciting, kind of crazy idea. Yeah. But there were so many questions, like, how is this going to work? And how is this going to work? And there were just so many little things where, the more I would think about it, I'm like, golly, I mean, it would be so cool, but it's just like so many things have to work.
Right.
And then like one thing after another just sort of kept falling in place. And then like when we brought it to the elders to really start like, guys, this could actually happen.
Yes.
Then it was sort of our job to, we try to poke as many holes into anything that comes our way as we can, just because we feel like if we can really scrutinize something, not in a negative way, but just in a critically evaluative way, and it holds water, then we know it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And
that was part of the litmus test.
Yeah.
Is this God? Let's walk it out. And if it works, then
correct.
It's the Lord.
And so we started that process. And then it was just like at every turn, we were like, okay, this is really cool. And then seeing the Restore families come over, I am reminded, I think, of my own calling in my life when new people come to the church, because there's just like a deep love that I have for people that want to be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it has been such a joy getting to meet some of the new families that are coming. Some of them I've known, but I mean, the majority of them I haven't.
Yeah.
And being able to see them and connect with them, and it's just, man, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
I've been reading a book on church mergers, and I'm finding out it's much more of a common thing than I ever knew it was. But one of the principles that they stand by is if your churches align 80% as a minimum, theologically, culturally, things like that, then it's it's for sure a green light to take the next step.
Correct.
And I've just seen that so much where
So
it has been at least 80% where I feel like we align. So it really hasn't even been too much of a shock for our Restore people coming over. It's bigger. It's
probably mostly just the subwoofers. That's the shock, just the loud, booming.
Keep them going, buddy.
Bass.
Keep them going.
No,
yes.
it's been good. The cultural similarities and just the kind of similar DNA, I think, has really helped. One of the things that we face a lot, I say a lot, I mean, this is a very new thing for us. It's something we've talked about in the past with other churches, but one of the preventative measures, I think, for a church like City on a Hill to do what we're doing is that, not that we're opposed to new people coming in, but we are pretty radically different than your average Baptist church, especially. Yeah. So that if a church wanted to kind of come under the umbrella of City on a Hill, it in a lot of cases would be a pretty big culture shock of it's not uncommon on Sunday mornings to be in the foyer and to like walk past people who are talking about the week or the Bible study or something, and then to walk past another couple, it's like, I relapsed last night, and then to walk past another person who, like, I celebrated 10 years sober in AA last night. Yeah. There's just such a, like, vast diversity of real stuff happening. And I know that's it's kind of like a buzzword in churches, like authentic and real, and we're real, and then, like, you go and you're like, oh, you're not real at all. Right.
Plastic.
Yeah. And I really truly think, I think everyone wears a mask to some extent, and I think it's kind of inevitable, but I really do think that most people in our church are pretty authentic, only because, like, they don't really have any other choice to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is a beautiful place to be.
It is.
It's like, that's where the power of God begins to move in our lives.
It's the dream.
We surrender.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. You said something early on too, where there's a number of churches that maybe don't have recovery programs, and this isn't a slant against other churches, but they might look pristine and nice on the outside. But the difference is that they're just not going to recovery, not going through healing classes, freedom groups, and things like that when they need to be. A lot of them. And
I had a discussion one time with someone that talked about. I actually had several discussions with people about this very issue of, like, we have a group for SA, for Sex Addicts Anonymous, and that reality freaks people out.
Yeah.
And I always like to remind people that, like, they're people, right? But B, these are the people who are coming to groups in our church. They're known entities.
Yeah.
We know who they are. They're owning their sin. They're like, yes, this is who I am. I would way rather be in a church where most of these individuals have said, hey, I have a problem, rather than to go into, like you said, the pretty church where there are just as many sex addicts, sex offenders, criminal behavior, none of which is accounted for. And it's so much easier to fly into the radar. And it's like, you're way more at risk in one of those churches.
Yeah,
you don't have a clue of who you're dealing with.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I think that the kind of model that God has given us here has been really good, but it is kind of shocking for some people.
Yeah.
And I think that I like to say a lot that if you want to know what a church believes about the gospel, look at who they allow in. Because if you are limiting certain people based on, like, behavioral protocol, that says you believe the gospel is good, but not really sufficient for all. It's not the power of God for all.
Yeah.
It's for the better people.
Yeah.
And that's no gospel at all.
Yeah.
So
it even kind of goes along with my story and a number of other people at Restore, where grew up in a Christian home, great parents. But I would say all the way up into college, I really couldn't even tell you, going to church my whole life, couldn't even tell you what the gospel was.
Right.
And the Lord rescued me out of religion. And he kind of rescued me from that pristine, plasticky thing of I worked my way to God by looking good.
Yeah.
And got to a place where it was like complete surrender to him of, like, oh man, I'm broken. And it's actually the religion that I'm standing on that is deeming me guilty here.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a beautiful picture, whether you're in the church or out of the church, whether you've got, like, a Christian background or not. We are all desperate people that desperately need Jesus.
Amen.
And we're needy.
Yeah.
And that's good. And that's okay. Jesus said it's the sick that need a physician, not the healthy.
No doubt about it. Well, let's move to something maybe even heavier. You're going to a street taco restaurant. What kind of protein are you putting on the street taco?
I think it's a quick brisket answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brisket, solid.
Yeah.
Barbacoa? Yeah, just
Yeah,
a quick
sure.
little.
Yep.
Are you a green or a red sauce kind of guy?
I'm going to go first with what is the spiciest, and that is often kind of a deep red. So I'll probably start with a red.
Deep red.
Yeah.
And maybe a
line
line of green?
A line of green just for some
citrus
just a
flavor?
pop.
Good.
Just for a pop of flavor.
Excellent. That's glad to hear that.
How about you? Are we aligned here?
Yeah, so I do love a good barbacoa. Man, it's hard. So, I think probably just like for a classic street taco, that's where I'm going to go. If I'm going to, there are certain places where I prefer asada. I just love the steak.
Yeah.
The El Capitan at what is that place called? Someone help me out here.
On Park Row?
No. What is it called? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of the place. El Capitan. Yeah, what is it? Say it again. Salsa limon.
Oh yes.
Salsa limon is
I've heard of this.
the jam.
I've heard of this. Never been.
We're gonna rectify that problem.
Yeah. Okay.
June Barker's favorite restaurant. Shout out June Barker. So that's a joke. She hates it. So yeah, love that. But yeah, a good brisket. I'll tell you where brisket I think shines the brightest is on a breakfast taco.
Yeah,
with a little egg.
With a little egg in there.
Yeah,
it's hard to beat.
Solid stuff.
Yeah, even Buc-ee's can pull that one off.
They can.
Yeah.
These is why you come to this podcast right here, to hear the good things.
It's the good news.
You grew up in Kansas City?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the barbecue here or there better?
Well, I think it depends on what you're ordering.
Yeah.
So to me, ribs in Kansas City are just hard to beat. They're
Yeah.
sauced and they're amazing. Joe's, shout out to Joe's. But here, I don't know, the brisket, Goldie's, it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
I've yet to see that one. It's undefeated at this point. So
brisket in Texas is hard to beat. So is this little guy. Hold on 1 second. Let me grab him. Come here. Nope, I think he runs off. The bane of this show's existence. Just kidding. He's a fan favorite. Come on. I'm trying to help you up, and you keep running away.
What kind of dog is that?
That's a Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And his name is Bowie, named after this guy right here, David
All right.
Bowie.
There you go.
Yeah.
fan.
Good fun. So when you preach, what translation do you use?
We have used the Christian Standard version.
the CSB.
Or Bible, CSB. Mostly because it's a little bit easier with people, English as a second language, being in Arlington and things like that. But ESV, the Elect Standard version, was the version before that.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer. I really struggle because if I were going to make a switch, it would probably be to the CSB. I love the accessibility of it. I think it's a very, very good translation.
Yep.
Like a good Baptist, I think that, it was made by the Baptist.
Yep.
It's a good translation. There are two problems that I have. One is a more serious one. One is a very superficial one, but I'm going to admit it right here, first time ever. The main one is that I did a ton of scripture memory when I was newer to the faith in ESV. So I find myself when I preach, there are times when I will quote scripture and it's going to be in ESV.
Yeah.
The more superficial reason.
You don't want to look like you're getting it wrong?
No, it's not that. It's just, I don't know. I think it's just that's more of an OCD thing for me.
Okay.
The superficial thing is the typeface on the CSB Bibles. I hate it.
Interesting.
I cannot stand reading it. It's like something about it is like, if they would fix that, I would maybe make a swing over.
It doesn't seem like that's a hard thing to fix.
Well, no one's fixing it.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know what it is about it, but
Until
the
now.
typeface is
Until
terrible.
this
So
podcast.
if someone from Lifeway is looking at this, change the font. Please change the font. It drives me crazy. Yeah. And I have like two of my favorite Bibles on earth are ESV. So there we are.
Have you read the Gen Z Bible?
I've heard of it, and I, as a Christian pastor preacher, am disgusted by it. As a linguist, I'm so proud.
No cap. It's awesome.
No
dude.
cap.
Yeah.
It's bussin'.
Yeah, it's bussin'.
It is
bro.
bussin'.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think. So this is first month with the Restore.
Yeah, our
merge?
first Sunday together merged is this coming Sunday.
Yeah, this coming. Which, if you're watching, we're in March now, but it's February 25th.
February 25th. Big day for us. Yeah.
I have appreciated the Sundays that Restore has come to City on a Hill. The first Sunday that the elders came to test pilot, I preached on the blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. So if you were to ask me, like, Derek, pick a Sunday when you want new people who are potentially going to land in your church to come, this is the one where I would say, like, maybe bottom 5, right?
Yeah.
Since then, we have had one sermon on the church, which I thought was an apropos message, followed by 2 messages over the ways in which Jesus is Lord of all things, and one of which was over demons. And so y'all have just chosen a really...
Yeah, demon possession, blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
I mean, all the good things.
Right.
All of the good things in the last few weeks have
God's
been happening.
sovereignty, that's another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you are, again, watching this on whatever various social media platforms you purvey things on, if it is not already March 3rd, you're going to be preaching.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too. I don't know what I'm preaching on yet. I was just thinking about that today. But
yeah. Well, go through the Rolodex of like best things, and just this is where I'm gonna,
Yep.
that's or do something.
After all you've been through, I'm going to find a softball pitch of a text.
Yeah. How
John 3:16.
What's so amazing about grace?
Right.
Come in. Let me tell you about it. I'm very, very excited. Tell us quickly, not quickly, we have all the time in the world. So your wife, Charisse, was at the meet and greet. You'd mentioned that she leads worship some at church and does a variety of other things, I'm sure, as especially wife of a church planner. Yep. But tell us about your family. So their involvement in the church, their things that they enjoy doing, ages, all that.
Yep. So, wife is Charisse. We've been married, it'll be 20 years in November. Okay. So big day. She also turns 40 the month before. So we've got some big trip or something planned we're working on. But kids, 5 kids. We are leading by example with the Be Fruitful and Multiply.
Of course.
Thing. Yeah. We've got 4 boys, 1 girl. Our oldest is in college. He's at Oral Roberts University running track there, and he was an All-American in high school. Nice. in track. He runs the 800 4x4. So as much as I would love to claim the genetics of his speed, he is our adopted son from Uganda. Excellent. Jonah is his name. Just a wonderful young man. And then we've got Silas, who is 17, and he's a senior in high school, soccer player, and entertaining the idea of being a fireman and all that stuff post-college. Then Noah, who is 16, he's a sophomore basketball player. And then Ellie, who is our only girl, she's 12, and she is a fireball. She's amazing, but a very strong young woman, especially because she's had to put up with.
I have one of those.
The boys, you get it. Yes. She scares me more than any of them.
100%.
And then Finn, who is the baby, he's 9 years old, and he's just full of life and fun and all kinds of things.
Love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. You had mentioned that Charisse led worship some in your church. Silas does as well.
Yeah. So Charisse, we went through a long season of about a year where both Charisse and Silas led. We were kind of in between worship leaders, and they ended up stepping into that and have just done a really great job. And so, Silas picked up the guitar one day and never looked back, and he's done a really great job. Wants to pursue that, I think, a little bit as well. So I think Charisse also works full-time. She's a physician recruiter. She recruits radiologists, and it's a very demanding job. So she's probably looking forward to a little bit of a break. Yeah. Wants to still play, but she's excited to just attend church.
Part of church
after almost 8 years of, having a pretty significant role every Sunday. She's ready for a little break, I think. So, yeah. Good. And then Silas he's ready to go. Whatever you guys want to throw at him, he'll jump right in and love it. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. There's that's awesome. You said something a moment ago, and I was thinking about it. I was going to ask a question, and I don't remember what it was now. I will circle around, I guess, if I think about it. What has their impression been of all this?
Yeah, they, I think change is disruptive, and it's a challenge no matter what. But in light of all of that, they have really been pretty fluid with the whole thing, excited. I think that being the only pastor at Restore for a number of years, it just takes a toll on you, and the family feels it. And so I think the idea that this might free up a little bit more time, or just me being able to be a little bit more present with the family, is a huge win that they recognize, and Charisse recognizes. And so we are really excited I'm personally excited to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
We've got Hannah, our admin, is amazing, and we've had people kind of rotating through some of the children's ministry stuff, but just to have a team of other pastors to process, work through things, encourage each other. I've never realized how important that is until I didn't have it. And then it was like, oh man, this is a necessity for being a healthy dad, being a healthy pastor,
being a healthy human,
Yeah. That connection of other people that know what the hill is going on. Boom.
So I tell people all the time. In fact, there was a video that's on YouTube. It was like our first annual leadership meeting that we did after I became senior pastor. And I laid out some sort of like pastoral pillars of leadership that are really important to me. And one of the first ones I talked about on there was that great ideas rarely begin as my ideas. And that is like really, I think, a nod to the fact that we have an incredible team at City on the Hill.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times people go to churches and they hear pastors like roll out these initiatives and everyone's like, wow, the pastor's so great and he's so smart. And, and it's like, I would be willing to bet that 9.5 times out of 10, that idea did not begin with him.
Yeah.
And for me, as an Enneagram 3 achiever, it's like, when it comes to doing ministry in a church setting, becoming the senior pastor is it. There's nowhere else to go. So I think like early on, it was like, okay, my objective now is to try to make everyone around me visible and better, and for people to see that like these are. It's like somebody was asking me the night about Night of Worship and like how incredible it was, and it was really, really. It was. I mean, they're always great, but it was like they get better, and. They said something like, I bet, you and Kelsey, really have a lot of fun planning those things out. And I'm like, it's not really me. Like he brings ideas to me, but like I want him to be able to have agency over that as the worship guy to really be able to pour into our church in a way that he's been gifted and called to do. And I want people to see that. I want people to know, like, this wasn't my idea. I didn't pick these songs. I didn't even know half of these songs before our church started doing them. So, like, these are not my. He'll bring me ideas, and I'll go like, yeah, that sounds really great.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that is the kind of philosophy that I try to carry around the staff as a whole. Is like, in terms of the creative elements, like, you guys do this. Sometimes I have input. Sometimes I have things where I'm like, hey, this is really important to me. But for the most part, children's ministry, student ministry, like you lead. Like it's one of those things where like if I had to be a part of all those discussions, then why do I have these staff members?
Right. It's almost like the body of Christ idea is a good idea.
It's almost like
Ephesians 5 and 6.
It's almost like that.
That's crazy.
It's not quite that, but it's exactly.
No, and not having it is you just limit yourself. I mean, the kingdom of God is doing fine without us, but to be a part of something where there is momentum and God is, and you're able to see fruit, and that's kind of where that's part of the decision that we made in merging with you guys was, man, we just want to see more impact, and we know that comes from a bigger body, synergy. And so already, like, there's been, I was just talking with Chris, like, there's been a situation in our church where a guy's been kind of in a rough place with his family, out of a place to live and trying to figure something out. That probably would have taken us 3 months to raise the funds and get him situated. And it was like a 30-minute phone call with Chris and a couple of these other guys and done. And we've got a solution for him. So, So I thank the Lord for that. I think that's the way that He intended the body of Christ to function, and I think that we're taking that step right now by merging with you guys.
It's very exciting stuff. Yep. We're super, super pumped. Obviously, so many more things to talk about, and we'll have you on more and more as we go, and as we get into the summer as well, some fun things there. But we're really excited about this. If I could ask you to do anything, is just to continue to pray and be available, and be, if you see a new face, introduce yourself. Don't assume they're from Restore. I had that happen twice last week where I introduced myself to a couple of couples and I was like, y'all from Restore? And they were like, where?
Who's Restore?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, sorry, you're just a regular new person. So just be kind to people in the foyer, but that'd be very helpful. But we're excited. We're excited to have you on board.
And just from what I've heard from our Restore family is like they felt very welcomed, very like a lot of hospitality going on at City on a Hill. So thankful for you guys.
Amazing. Well, coming up next, we will be wrapping this whole thing up to talk about Spring Breakout with Aaron Nelson, the Chaos Coordinator in the student ministry. So stick around. Well, welcome back in for the final portion of our time here in the March episode. I'm joined here by sweaty already, Aaron Nelson. How are we doing?
I am fantastic.
Is it warm?
It feels great in here.
I've
There's
got the
two
fans
ceiling
on.
fans going.
Yeah.
AC. It is the end of February, and
is.
it is 80 degrees outside.
It is. It's a crime.
It is.
It's sweltering.
If you've ever questioned whether or not Texas weather was unpredictable,
Here it is.
here's your answer.
Here's your answer.
So I'm pretty upset about it, actually.
So tell me a little bit about Spring Breakout and all of the things that are going to be breaking out.
Yes. So Spring Breakout 3, we decided to keep putting the number there just because it seemed like the cool thing to do.
Right. Until we get to Spring Breakout 18. And it's going to feel like...
And then we're done. Yeah, it's going to be... What is that video game? Anyways, moving on.
You're thinking of Tekken.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. So Spring Break's... I'm spring broken. I'm sorry. Spring Breakout is going to be awesome. Is what I was going to say. But it is, man. It's a model that we've done for the past 3 years. We get to have our students go stay at host homes, which are graciously provided by people at our church, families at our church. They're split up into age groups, and we get to go do some service projects, varying different service projects, and we get to do a lot of fun stuff as well. Paintball has been the favorite.
So last year I dropped off Jessica. I think Jessica serves in the youth, and it was very cold that morning.
It was. June asked me today. She was like, "Is it cold during that time?" And it's again unpredictable.
We have no idea.
That morning we got out there and it was like 36 degrees.
And by lunch it was like 70.
Yeah. So, I had sweatpants and sweatshirt, and that didn't last long, which I should have known better anyways. There's a reason I wear shorts at all times.
Right.
Because I can handle the cold.
Right.
It's when I get inside and the heater's on, that's when I'm upset.
Yeah.
And that's not your fault.
It's not.
Or anybody else's.
No.
So shorts for me.
Keeping short accounts.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes.
So games, the host homes, a lot of fun there. What are some of the other aspects in terms of like the spiritual formation, teaching, devotionals? How does that all work?
Right. So it's looked a little different each year. This year, we're going to start on a Wednesday night. So it'll start during our normal youth time. We'll get a time of worship. We will have a time of I'll teach kind of on a service-related message. And then throughout the event, we'll have small groups with the students and their leaders, whoever they're staying in their host homes, just little check-ins, kind of like that. And then as well, while we're out doing the service projects, just kind of keeping that open communication about, what is this all about? Why are we doing this? Is it for show? What does it mean to be the hands and feet? Yeah. Which is pretty awesome, man. It's always cool to apply it.
It is. Yeah.
So
in the moment.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep.
So talk about, we have a conference happening at the latter portion of Spring Breakout as well.
Indeed.
Unconfused, which we laughed about this past week, that our sign-up process has been easily the most confusing thing we've ever done.
Yeah, for sure.
So on brand. All that to say, it is for what age groups? What do you expect to see out of all of the?
Right. Yeah. So it's our normal youth age group, so 6th through 12th. It is for parents as well. They will hear the same thing, students and parents. They'll just be split up. Yeah. As we were talking about it, as we were planning it, We figured that students will have a harder time sharing if their parents are there, and we don't want that sort of pressure.
Right.
And so, but still having the parents be able to hear, the same message, and then affording them the opportunity to talk to it after, or talk about it afterwards, is great. And so parents are welcome as well. We have, I think, 3 experts in the field coming to talk.
David Pickup, Denise Schick, and Gary Ingram.
That's right. And so we'll have some breakouts. We'll have times where we're sitting, listening to them, testimonials, things of that nature. And so it's one of those things where it's the thing that's just out there staring us all in the face that we all want to pretend like isn't happening. And that's not going to do anybody any favors.
No.
And so
I agree. I think it's incredible that we're doing it, and I'm hopeful to see a good amount of interaction. Hopefully some other churches participate. There are a couple of others that I know expressed initial interest. Spring break is obviously a very busy season for youth groups in particular, churches all over, and so whether they are able to come still remains to be seen. But I think it's one of those topics that it's only going to become a bigger issue. And
especially if we can ignore it. So.
I know it was either last year or year before. I don't remember. We did something in the youth that had to do with this topic. We didn't bring in Denise and them, but I did a talk on one of the nights. I don't remember.
I think it was just our sex talk.
I think maybe it was just
which is the same deal. Just taking it face on and beginning the conversation.
But one of the things that we did notice, and it's why we've made the adjustment for this particular conference, is that we invited obviously parents to that as well, and then did guy discussion and girl discussion where mothers and daughters and then fathers and sons kind of came into each of those rooms to have a discussion. And it was like really strange. I mean, both the parents and the kids were obviously very uncomfortable with the other being there. And I mean, in an ideal world, we'd like to get it to where that isn't the case. But if you've never had that discussion with your kid, then it is a little uncomfortable, a little weird. And so for this in particular conference with regard to transgenderism, we have made the decision to have a separate breakout with the parents to give you guys the opportunity to ask the hard questions that maybe you would not feel comfortable asking in front of your kids, and vice versa. And so we've got, I think, good leadership for that, and very much looking forward to that. Friday night, I think I'm talking. So 3 professionals and an amateur, which is great. So I'll be doing just a more of a biblically grounded talk on probably sexuality at large. We'll do some dysphoria stuff in that talk as well, and then I believe a movie as well for Friday night, which we previewed at the last Hope gathering that we did, and it was incredible. It was one of those things where one of the speakers for the Hope gathering was the guy behind the movie, and he had done the movie. That's how he met Denise, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it kind of turned into like hey, what if we did a screening of this movie? And we'd never seen it. Like, we didn't really know what to expect, but we trusted Denise and the people that were a part of it. And it turned out being like really, really good.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Really good.
Yeah.
And some of the people that he has in it that are in like some of the interviews are people that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, just in the general world of theology. And so I was like, man, this guy's like legit.
Yeah.
And so I think to be able to show that again is going to be really helpful. And he talks a lot about sort of how all of this got started and how the media looks at it and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be just an all-around informative and hopefully helpful time for the kids and students. Now, is this the last thing that they're doing in Spring Breakout?
So it is Friday, and then Friday night, like you said, with the movie, and your talk, and then Saturday for most of the morning into a portion of the afternoon. After that, that's when we're going to go paintballing.
Gotcha.
So after paintballing, Spring Breakout is over. And so, we've kind of switched around the schedule a little bit, try to see what works the best. And so that's kind of like the big, that's the big fun event.
Yeah.
At least I know a majority of them look forward to, and so being able to end with that is exciting. Yeah, man.
Transgenderism. Now paintball.
Now let's go shoot each other with paint.
Good. Excellent. Good.
Yeah,
Good. Well, man, I'm excited. How do parents sign their students up?
So it's on the Church Center app. It's under the registration like usual. $75 per student. That gets them all food that they need for the week, snacks, room and board, and all the fun stuff. So it's a pretty killer price. A lot of good stuff comes out of it. So
yeah,
sign them up.
That's very worth it. Very worth it. Going to be very fun, very informative, very hopefully formational.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we're looking forward to that. So lots of things to be excited about this month, in the month of March. Really looking forward to seeing what the Lord brings to us after this, but we've got enough, I guess, right in front of us for this month. And so stick around for all the fun. And if you ever find yourself wondering what the hell is happening, you know where to go.